Good day, everybody. My name is Todd Standing, out here just on a couple-day expedition um, in a very, very Sasquatch place. I'm back in the Nordegg area. Check this out. You'll see this quite often out here. This is very much Sasquatch country. This is where I took Survivor Man out, well, within 100 miles of this particular spot. But what I want to talk about, something that I was doing a lot this year and had a tremendous amount of learning experience. So I was out here in this particular area. As you can see, there's a bit of snow on the ground, and the trees are, if I touch them, they're really cool, which is very perplexing to me because when I was out here with that darn DJI drone, the thermal technology that they have, it's been very frustrating because these trees, the Douglas fir and the pine out here, show up as the same temperature as elk and deer, which means that a lot of the times, unless conditions are really good, I mean, like there's been no cloud, it's been cool, then I have not been getting good success whatsoever. But there have been a couple times, definitively, where I'm very sure the Sasquatch has been around. Speaking of the episodes of Survivor Man, like the episodes of Survivor Man, when we could literally hear them not so far off in the distance, maybe even 200-300 yards away. Clearly, like in the episode of Survivor Man, there's a point where I say there's 3 of them out there. And Les looks at me and gives me a nod in agreement. And then the next day we find tracks substantiating they were there. So I thought, well, this would just be easy, like I always do, which it never is with Sasquatch. Just plop a drone up into the air, and then, you know, everything will be hunky-dory. I'll go find them. But the reality, everybody's talking about, you know, even how for sure this will be the end, this will be the discovery, and everything will move forward really well. But it hasn't worked out that way. And at least, gosh, half a dozen times I've had those situations occur this year where I definitively know there was a Sasquatch in the not so far distance. And the problem has been that, so when I'm out and I'm filming an ungulate, for example, they seem to be perfectly happy very often just bedding down in spaces like this one where it's between trees. So not directly under them, but kind of out in the open between them. So and but that's not typical canopy. More typical canopy, see this tree right here is very thick.
Head west on Range Road 11 to 4, Range Road 114A toward Township Road 405B.
So this tree is very thick all the way up because it's not competing with other trees. That's not normal. This is what a tree is supposed to. So a tree is supposed to look like. The branches are very sparse along the bottom. And then as you can see, as it gets higher up, they get very thick. That's a problem for this kind of research, because I think a difference with the Sasquatch and what I've seen this year is they can, I'm telling you, they can hear the drone. Okay, the drone that I have, one of the big bragging points this year is it's so quiet. It's you know, literally they were giving fractions like, you know, 1/6 as loud as the old drone, and you know, I was really happy to hear that. But if you listen out here, even the highway's not, there's a highway and not so distant, you know, maybe a half a mile away, and it's quiet. So you fly a drone over here, and it's loud, like it's loud and obvious, and all the animals look up. They look up. That's one thing you can see. They look up. Often the drone is so small, I don't really think they get a bead on it or can see it, but they look in the direction where the sound is coming because the sound is very profound. And what I believe happened multiple times this year is when I was approaching a Sasquatch, they did what no deer and what no ungulate does, what an intelligent being would do. They hear something coming from above and they step under the canopy. So now I'm covered. So there'll be a tree beside a tree. The sunlight is being taken up. This is not a good habitat. I mean, this has been logged and it's just kind of a mess. But in the terrain where I've been seeing the Sasquatch, there is a canopy where everything is fighting for light, and in a canopy like this, an intelligent being like a Sasquatch is just going to simply step under a tree and wait for the drone to pass, and that's been a real problem. So I may have drone footage. Going to look into that very significantly. What happened, I believe, was, so it was on the expedition, the Alberta Boy expedition. You can see the video from quite a few months ago. It was my first expedition this year. And what happened was I was seeing a heat signature, and it was my was my first expedition with the drone in the wilderness. So what happened, I believe, was, so I sent them out, and I had seen a very large heat signature that was blotchy, that wasn't defined, but it was a definitive heat signature. And what I believe happened was, so I sent the expeditioners out, Sark and Zach, and I sent them out, and what happened was, so you can see how these trees, so I'm using this tree as an example. So let's say there was a Sasquatch in the tree here. You can see he's still got canopy above him. So I believe there was a Sasquatch, maybe even higher, maybe even around this spot in a tree. So I'm seeing a figure, but as the expeditioners approached from the bottom here, they disappeared. Well, why'd they disappear? Because they came under the canopy. So as they were walking along, I'd see them getting close to the heat signature, and then I'd say, you're gone, I can't see you. I can still see the heat signature, but I see nothing of you. That's because the lower canopy was covering them, and the upper canopy, and you would think, so you're looking at things in 2 dimensions. I'm not thinking 3-dimensionally. You're right on top of it, should be right in front of you. No, you're not right on top of it if it's 60, 70 feet above you in the air, which is what I believe happened. So, and the entirety of the incident was, so they disappeared, they came back, they disappeared. I had walkie-talkies, I was talking to them. We couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. So they just came back, and that heat signature lingered. So this is not bear behavior at all. There's no chance a bear, this was only about, I'd say 80 yards, between 80 and 100 yards from my base camp. So bear's not going to go sit up in a tree as people are approaching, as drones flying around. This is completely not bear behavior, and there's really no other animal that's large enough, because this beam was clearly in the, I would have to say minimum 400 pounds. It was big, and it was heat, and it was warm. So again, I'm going to review this video in the next couple months, now that I'm going into post-production and working on the footage and whatnot that we received this year, that we got. But so they came back, and I started to circle around. I circled around for about 4 or 5 minutes, and I couldn't see anything. It was dark. And that drone, the other problem with it is, if I get something at night, which is the ideal time to use the thermal, I can't substantiate anything other than a heat signature, because the 4K camera needs really good light. It doesn't even work in low light, especially because it's got such a spectacular zoom. So when things get dimmer, even in conditions like this, it works okay. It'll work okay in this kind of condition only for the next 20 or 30 minutes. But anyway, so if I did get a thermal from a Sasquatch, who's going to really believe it? Because it's an aerial drone footage from above. I'm not going to get that low level angle where you can see a body and a head moving. It's going to be an above look, and I don't know how I'm going to be able to substantiate that as a Sasquatch. It's just going to be interesting. So anyways, like I said, I finished circling around base camp and went back to that thermal image, and guess what? It was gone, completely gone. So also substantiating that it wasn't some kind of natural phenomenon of any kind. And the tree still had heat warmth on it, which is absolutely outstanding, was very perplexing to me. But what that tells me is that being that was sitting in the tree, he was kind of hanging on to it, and he was close. He left heat on it. That's also something I'm going to have to look into and figure out, because it was a pretty significant amount of heat was left on the branches and in the trunk of the tree. And then I did a little bit more of a flight, and I came back, and the heat signature had dissipated to the point where it was almost unnoticeable. So completely and utterly 100% Sasquatch behavior. I've had an eyewitness accounting of a Sasquatch in a tree in that particular area from my base camp. So that kind of makes me even more lean towards the fact that may have been a Sasquatch in the tree. So a fantastic, excellent expedition, very typical Sasquatch behavior. And this is the end of the season for me now. And I had high hopes for the drone. And a lot of people are out there going, ha, you spent tens of thousands of dollars on a drone. And was it worth it? I think yes, because I had to do it. I had to go out and try it. It's brand new technology. No one's ever used it before. I got hundreds of hours of time on it, filmed bears and mountain lions and wolves and all sorts of species with it. You know, all the ungulates you could get. But is it going to finish the Sasquatch discovery? No, it's not. It's not going to be good enough. We need more. And, you know, it's an exceptional piece of technology. And to be honest, at the end of the day, as exceptional as it is, I mean, the freaking thing looks like a tripod in the sky. You can have that thing sitting at 600 feet and zoom in on an animal below it in the daytime, and it's very steady. So the technology is absolutely outstanding. But even for search and rescue, though, I'm quite unimpressed with it overall. They're going to have to dial in very specifically on body temperature or mammalian temperature for it to be effective. The thing is built for power lines and people doing, you know, pipelines and looking for thermals and all sorts of other things. Literally, the temperature variance can be from minus 20 degrees Celsius to 500 degrees Celsius. I mean, that's absolutely ludicrous for what we need. And when you try to dial in on that temperature specifically, it just doesn't work at all. So overall, you know, I'm super happy I did it. But for all of you, would I recommend it for Sasquatch research? No, I wouldn't. Because I'm very, very convinced, after being boots on the ground in the field using it, Sasquatch are the only species, period, that literally they must step under the canopy, which is just kind of a logical thing to do. What would you do if you heard some loud buzzing, you know, I don't know if they can identify it as a drone, but an enormously loud buzzing mechanical thing in the sky coming towards you, and probably not be able to see it? I would definitively not trust what it is, and I would move for cover. And and I'm telling you, if you're a Sasquatch out in the wilderness, it takes one step. And they are very patient. There's another thing about their behavior, is since they're dominant, an apex species out in the wilderness, they don't run away. They're going to stand their ground, they're going to move slowly or stop and figure out what's going on and deal with the situation in a very patient and timely manner, which is what they are. The old native, the Apaches, the Cree, all the Kootenai Indians that I've studied and learned about from history and currently are extremely patient. They have all the time in the world to go after their quarry. They take, you know, hours and hours, days and days sometimes. They're absolutely incredibly patient. And that's clearly what anybody who does Sasquatch research is going to see. Sasquatch are incredibly, immensely patient. They stay still. They don't move unnecessarily. Everything they do is very precise, precision, and calmly apex species orientated and done. So there's literally no species out there to compare them to. So am I surprised that my deduction at the end of the year, this is the most important thing, guys. My deduction is when they hear a drone in the sky, they step under the canopy and they hold their ground and they wait until the sound is gone, because these drones are not quiet. They make a freaking tremendous amount of noise. I'm telling you, if I can hear them, they sure can. So that's my review of the thermal DJI, greatest piece of technology that prosumers like myself were able to go get, and it's just not going to cut it. So DJI has my credit card numbers, and when the new one comes out this year, I'm just automatically buying it no matter what. So I have the old one to tinker around with, but I'll keep up with the technology, and I'm not going to quit on it. It is a fantastic is a very amazing device. I am overall very impressed with it. It would be fantastic for filming, you know, ungulates of all kinds, bighorn sheep. I have some mountain goat footage that I got that was pretty impressive. And, you know, bears.
In 200 meters, turn left onto Alberta 11 East.
Lots of really good things. It would be very advantageous, but not so much for Sasquatch. So that's my review of the thermals that everybody was talking about this year. I went and I did it, put my heart and soul in it. I am an elite expert when it comes to DJI drones. If you need somebody to come out and use them and show you how they work and how to use them, I have over 100 hours of operating experience in the wilderness. So spent a lot of time doing it. So thank you so much for tuning in today. Much more to come. This is going to be a fantastic couple weeks. It's going to be a fantastic winter. I am coming to the Sasquatch Summit, so I'll be talking about that in an upcoming video as well. So stay tuned. Lots more to come. Take care. Bye for now.